the silk tore with a sharp, humiliating sound. Lena froze. The classroom that had moments ago been filled with cheerful morning chatter now burned with laughter, a cruel, merciless laughter. Her silk top, the one she'd bought with her first real paycheck, hung ripped down the side. She blinked rapidly, trying to hold back tears as two teenage boys smirked from the back row. They thought it was funny. They thought she was weak. What they didn't know a broken bar was who she really was. Lena had started teaching at the high school not because she needed money but because she needed peace. 3 years ago, she'd lost her husband in an accident. Her life, once full of boardrooms, high-end offices, and business meetings, had turned quiet and hollow. She had been a successful CEO, the youngest in her company's history. But grief changes people. She stepped down, handed temporary control to her executives, and chose a simpler life, one where she could give back, one student at a time. But that morning, peace shattered. After the class ended, Lena sat alone at her desk, her torn blouse, her shaking hands, and the echo of laughter. All of it felt like the final straw. She had spent months teaching kindness, respect, empathy, yet here she was, humiliated by children too privileged to understand consequences. Still, she didn't shout, she didn't call for punishment. She quietly wrote their names down, Ryan Carter and Devin Blake. Then she picked up her phone and made a call not to the principal, but to her personal assistant at the company she'd once led. "Get me the employee files for Mark Carter and Helen Blake," she said calmly. Now, by the next day, the two boys strutted into class as if nothing had happened. But Lena was composed, her silk top replaced by a crisp white blouse. The day went on as usual, but that afternoon, two expensive cars screeched into the school parking lot. Two furious parents stormed into the principal's office. "You can't fire us like this," Mark Carter shouted, slamming his hand on the table. Lena stood across from him, her eyes calm, steady. "I can, and I have." The room fell silent. The principal looked at her, confused. "Mrs. Carter, Mr. Blake," Lena said quietly, "you work for my company. You are part of my management division. And your sons." As she looked at the boys, they thought it was funny to rip my clothes and humiliate their teacher. The parents went pale. The boys' eyes widened as realization sank in. The woman they'd bullied wasn't just a teacher. She was the founder and majority owner of Atlas Dynamics, one of the biggest firms in the city. The very company their parents relied on to keep their family's status and lifestyle afloat. "Maybe now," Lena continued, "you'll understand what happens when you don't teach your children empathy and respect. No shouting, no revenge, just calm authority, the kind that cuts deeper than anger ever could." The incident spread like wildfire through the school. Rumors swirled. Some students whispered that the teacher was secretly a billionaire. Others said she used to run a tech empire. None of it mattered to Lena. What mattered was the quiet apology that came the next morning. Ryan and Evan waited outside her classroom before the first bell. Heads bowed, they approached her with trembling hands. "We're sorry, Miss Lena," Ryan whispered. "We didn't know." She looked at Emma and saw two scared kids raised in homes that valued power more than kindness. "It's not about what you didn't know," she said softly. "It's about what you'll learn from it now." Over the weeks that followed, everything changed. The boys began volunteering in class, helping her organize projects, even staying after school to tutor younger students. The school principal, after learning who Lena truly was, thanked her for handling the matter with grace instead of scandal. But Lena didn't do it for recognition. She did it to teach not just her students, but everyone watching. Months later, Atlas Dynamics announced a new community program, Respect Rebuilds. It offered scholarships to underprivileged youth and leadership training for teens. The first two volunteers, Ryan Carter and Devin Blake. In her quiet office one evening, Lena looked at an old photo on her desk, her husband smiling beside her on the day she became CEO. "You'd be proud of me," she whispered. "I didn't fight back with power broken bar, I fought back with purpose." And as the sun set outside her window, the golden light shimmered against the silk of her new blouse, the same color as the one that had been torn. But this time, she wore it not as a symbol of status or broken bar but of strength.